podcast is brought to you by Substack. Go to substack.TristanJMiller.com for early access to this podcast as well as film reviews from me, Tristan Miller.
And now, our feature presentation.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Focus Testing, a podcast about movies where we make a movie. My name is Tristan Miller, and joining me today is a very funny stand-up comedian, Gabe Pacheco. How are you, Gabe?
So happy to be here, Tristan. Thank you for inviting me to do this podcast. I am both an Imagineer and a cinephile, so you're giving me an opportunity to cinephileneer a narrative with you.
Yes, to synergize your cinephilia and your Imagineer. So my first question that I always ask people is, what movie do you remember first going to go see in the cinema?
What movie? My father took me to the Uptown Theater in Washington, D.C., which is this classic old Art Deco theater at the border of Woodley Park and Cleveland Park. And it is, they're trying to historically preserve it right now, but he took me to see The Last Emperor, which is a film about the final emperor of China before, I believe, World War II, right? So it is his life at the beginning of World War I, and there's a dowager empress or queen who's sitting on a throne. And then she's like chewing opium, I think, at the beginning of it.
Sweet.
And then 5 minutes into the film, the guy is in a prison camp, and he's slicing his wrists open in the sink in the prison. And I was not traumatized by any of this. I was probably like 7 or 8, and my dad took me to see this in the theater. And then afterwards, we had Chinese food for dinner. It was like,
oh boy,
it was like a cultural experience. You know, all the senses were electrified, and to integrate all of these things, and I think it informed some of my like love of history, and also it left me asking more questions than anything else. You know, like, what happened to kings? What happened to the emperors? What? Oh, this guy became a puppet for the Japanese regime, right? Because the Axis invaded China at this point, and so that was part of the storyline. He had a British tutor. Peter O'Toole was his tutor, I think, at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So I was like, why is this British white man like teaching this Chinese emperor things? So, you know, my dad's like, mijo, colonialism, it's a bitch, you know? And
sure. I mean, that does make sense. Yeah. That's, I think, a very interesting first movie to remember. My gosh.
Yeah. Well, it's tied to, you know, one of the first outings that I had with my dad too, like solo.
Oh,
right? I mean, my family's all together, but it's kind of cool when you've got these team up, like random superhero team ups.
Yeah.
You know, when you go on your first adventure with your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister without the whole like organism that is the family unit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For me and my dad, it was always rummage sailing. Like that was we'd go and pick around someone else's crap for a couple hours.
Yeah, that's great too. You know, and then you get to come up with backstories for all of these, like the detritus of someone else's life.
Yeah. There's nothing more sad than an estate sale because it's someone who's died and they're like, do you want any of this? We can't bear to part with it. Like, there's always an uncomfortable thing. But you said you were a cinephile at the beginning of this. What movies do you enjoy the most?
I mean, I love sci-fi, so I'm just thinking back to like childhood again, living in the basement, A Person Under the Stairs. I love People Under the Stairs. I also love I was kind of a latchkey kid growing up, and the Blockbuster was 5 blocks away. The Uptown Theater was about 5 blocks away. They were across the street from one another. So I would go see movies by myself, and I would go rent movies by myself. and no one asked me about ratings at this point. Like
Hmm.
this is like the late 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just remember seeing things like Blade Runner. My first horror movie was Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. So I didn't even see Part 1. I saw Part 2, which is like the transgressively queer
Mm-hmm.
uh, Friday the or Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said, right? Nightmare on Elm Street. So it's
Yes,
like
yes.
Freddy. So it's like Freddy with a bondage fetish gym teachers, and it was insane. So that was my first Friday Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I said, Blade Runner. We owned Godfather, and I would watch that. I feel like every year as like
Mm-hmm.
a family movie. We would watch Godfather. I had Apocalypse Now.
Uh-huh.
Um, so and it was interesting hanging out with other kids and them telling me that they weren't allowed to watch certain things,
Mm-hmm.
or they just weren't up on like grown-up movies, and I thought that was borderline, like you're handicapping your child by not
Sure.
exposing them to like cool cinema.
Yeah. To art. Un
Yeah.
film. Yeah.
to grown folks
Yeah.
art.
Grown folks art. Do you still go to the movies by yourself now?
Oh wow.
And do you prefer it over a group?
I love watching movies by myself. Yeah, I don't
Mm-hmm.
go with a group ever anymore. And one of the problems is making plans with people. Like if I was like, "Hey Tristan, let's go to go see this like Invisible Man, let's say
Mm-hmm.
at 8 o'clock tonight," and I buy the tickets,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna be running late. Now I gotta wait for you.
Yeah, 100%.
Going to movies with friends is like after a certain age, I don't go to birthday brunches, I don't go to birthday dinners,
Sure.
because I don't want to be at a table with 15 people splitting a bill. The same thing with films. It's like maybe if we're tight, like
Yeah.
you and I have already met ahead of time, we've
Mm-hmm.
pre-gamed, and then we go to that movie together.
Mm-hmm.
That works.
I'm with you. I was thinking like the only times I can really remember going to go see a film with a friend or like my then girlfriend was when we were living together. You're absolutely correct. Of like, meet me at such and such a time and place is such a weirdly big ask for specifically, I feel like New York adults.
Absolutely, dude. You're
Yeah.
and then going in a big group, especially if it's a movie that's popular, you're gonna suffer from, well, can we all sit together?
Oh,
We all have to sit in the same row. And I absolutely don't do, even if I'm on a date, I don't need to sit next to you. Like if there's
yeah, for sure. There's
if
no
there's
reason.
one empty seat over here and one empty seat at the other end of the theater, it's better that we both get solo seats that are
Hmm.
better seats than sit together and both make a miserable compromise.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good philosophy for life, Gabe, to be honest. Damn, that's some truth. But yeah, for sure. I mean, I also feel like the only well, like, why do you need to sit next to each other in as much as like it's not like you're gonna make out during the movie, right? Like
Yeah,
those days are behind us.
I'm grown and sexy, man. I don't need to
Yeah.
go make out in a dirty seat with like popcorn kernels crunching under our feet as our toes curl while we make out.
Yeah, absolutely. No reason for that whatsoever.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a couple of like fun movie trivia-ish questions for you. And the first one, I always like to know to kind of as a litmus test to see where we're at, which is what is movie?
What is movie?
Yeah.
Man, okay, well, a good one is something that you think about the next day. And so
Mm.
you don't even have to like it while you're watching it.
Yeah,
You just have to think about it later.
I really like that as well. Because there's a bunch of like my top 3 films I've only probably seen once because they're just embedded in my memory, every frame of it. Because I'm like, this is the greatest film I've ever seen in my life. So,
Yeah, and I like a film where also I am in love with the backstory of the characters
mm,
that I imagine. I don't even have to know their real backstory. It
Mm-hmm.
is that you're transported to a place where they feel so real that you can imagine them in other scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
you and this was like kind of the best part of the first Star Wars movies, but then also they killed the frog dissecting it by trying to show us everything that happened before, and everything with like
Yeah,
prequels and sequels, just um yeah. So but I think the first Star Wars did a great job, but then so did a movie like The Professional,
for
where
sure.
I don't ever need to see the prequel of how Gary Oldman's gang of corrupt cops came together,
Yeah, yeah.
but I totally can envision all of
Mm-hmm.
those corrupt cops in their own little side quests,
Mm-hmm.
having fun, like almost like each of them is the bad lieutenant. Harvey Keitel's like bad lieutenant.
Sure, sure, sure. That makes
You
sense.
know?
Yeah. I I agree about the Star Wars thing. That is one of the drawbacks to those later films, but I'm of an age where I grew up with them and they're perfect to me. But
And I don't think there's anything wrong with them. It's more the idea of
yeah.
God, or it's like what made the first Halloween so amazing
Hmm.
is that we didn't know anything about Michael Myers, and you can read in to
Yep.
like how insane he got in the institution over all of the years that he was in captivity before he gets released in Haddonfield again.
For sure. But I do very much agree of like that to me that first Star Wars film is the best one because of that reason because you're just kind of thrown into it. You don't really know what's going on. Even even now knowing as much as I do about that world, I still watch that first one. I'm like, what is this? What is any of this? It's just still has that thing. Um, so my second question for you is what director should make the next Marvel movie, do you think?
Oh man.
Who do you want to see?
The next I want to see, I don't know if Guillermo Del Toro has been making Marvel movies.
Not yet.
But I love The Strain, which is not a movie but the TV show,
Mm-hmm.
and it is excellent special effects. It's also dark and gloomy, but and yet still colorful. And so I think he's got a really good grasp, and he did Hellboy. Um, but I think he's got a great grasp on both special effects and giving characters depth.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So and raising the stakes, and he's okay with death.
Yeah.
So I mean, which is antithetical to like the Marvel, I think, factory,
Hmm.
because you can't have incredibly high stakes in movies if you know that those characters need to come back
Yeah.
for like a sequel. And so, okay. Oh. So
Oh,
can I add on
yeah,
to this real quick?
for sure.
My favorite comic books back in the day were Marvel's What If comic books.
Oh, sure.
And so in those, what was really cool about them was that they gave an alternate ending to like a what if. So one of them was like, what if Wolverine became Lord of the Vampires? And so it's a spin-off of one time when like the 70s X-Men fought Dracula in Central Park. So this like happened in one issue. And so what if comics would do is it would take an issue of a storyline and say, well, what if the whole universe changed at that moment? So in this comic book, Dracula ends up defeating all the X-Men and then turning them into vampires. And when Wolverine wakes up, he's like, maybe it's his healing power or like his
Hmm.
tough mental fortitude. Like he can't be like hypnotized by
Hmm.
Dracula, so he's like, nah, son, and like cuts off Dracula's head and becomes the Lord.
Ugh.
But within the what if universe, the stakes could be crazy high
Hmm.
because you knew that it didn't happen on canonical Marvel Earth 1.
Yeah.
So like any character could die at any time.
Hmm. That I very much agree with the stakes situation, 100%. That was Also, a problem I had with, like the Obi-Wan show is like, well, we all know he's gonna be, we know when he dies. Like, there's no,
Yeah,
we know when Leia dies too. Like, there's no
yeah.
real,
How's he gonna get out of this pickle?
yeah, exactly. It felt kind of like a sitcom in a way. Um, but that leads into my next question, which is, what Star Wars character do you want them to never make a Disney Plus series about? If you saw it, you'd pull out your hair and just go, why? Why?
Lobot.
Okay. For those of the listeners that don't know who Lobot is, you want to lay it on?
Yeah, man. He's the bald guy that looks like he's wearing Beats by Dre headphones and
Mhm.
walks behind Lando Calrissian the whole time in Empire Strikes Back in the Cloud
Mhm.
City.
You don't want to see how he got those beats?
Yeah. Oh, what is the backstory with
Oh my God.
Lobot? Yeah. How did this glorified secretary end up as Lando's secretary?
Oh my gosh. That's a very good, very good answer. All right. So, which actor do you want to spit in your mouth?
Oh, maybe the alien from Aliens.
Ah, see, that's a great answer. And it also answers another question that I have, which is which movie monster do you want to fuck? And
Oh man, you got me.
yeah, there you go. Amazing. Great, great answers all
I've never
around.
seen a lady predator, but we'd have very strong fit children, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I
And I
think
like fishing, so I'm kind of a hunter. I can get down. I can get down with their culture.
for sure. Yeah, you'll learn the ways. You'll try to do your best to like understand. You'll learn that clicking language, for at least
Yeah.
conversationally for when she brings you home to the parents.
I always
Um,
wanted to learn the predator hieroglyphic
mm.
like script that they use when they're setting the atomic bombs that they wear on their wrists.
Can I tell you? I have only seen one Predator film. Can you guess which one it is?
I think you probably saw Predator versus Aliens Requiem.
I did not. I've seen Prey, and that is it.
Oh man, which is by far, I think, the best um, shoehorning of a predator into a very sweet film, a
Yeah.
slice of life film about Comanche lifestyle.
Yeah, and then here comes this guy. Dope, dope, dope. What I did love about that film more than anything is how shitty they made the Frenchmen. Ugh, I loved that.
Yeah.
Because growing up, at least, like I'm from like the South Dakota area, there was this sort of like, oh well, the French settlers got along with the Native Americans better than the English people did, and so there's like this reputation of them being like nice to the natives, and I was like, that's not true at all.
Oh, totally not. Also, so I have family in Wyoming,
Mm-hmm.
and right now, a little bit outside of Jackson in the Teton Range. So, like the Teton Mountains are basically that just means like the big titties, and
Mm-hmm.
because these like horny French beaver trappers entered the Jackson Hole Valley and they saw this mountain range that was like
Uh-huh.
majestic, and they're like, oh, grand tetons, and we just put it on t-shirts and we're like, yeah, Teton Mountains. I think it must be a Shoshone word. I think it's a native word from I think
Ugh.
the natives of the Wind River tribe, they probably named that the Grand Tetons, right?
Ugh.
Is it named after one of their spirit gods, like a Wendigo, or no, it's just horny French dudes being like, look at those nipple peaks.
Yeah, look at those nipple peaks in Jackson Hole. Oh my God. Ugh. Just how embarrassing to be colonized by the French, I feel like. If you and the British, if we're gonna be honest, like these specky motherfuckers. Ugh. In any event, what's your favorite cinema snack? What's your favorite snack at the movies?
Dude, well, in high school
Mm,
we would do the second run movies all the time in high school, and we would smuggle in the 40s. So I don't know
okay.
if you're gonna count a liquid
Sure,
beverage
why not?
as a
Yeah.
snack, but when it when it comes to food, dude, I'm trad. This is one of the few areas I'm pretty traditional. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big popcorn guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get the butter on it or no?
Oh yeah, man. I've
You
never worried
soaked?
about massive coronaries or anything. I a full saucer of butter. I'll ask for
Full.
an extra cup, and I'll bring my own butter, and I'll like layer it. So
Ugh.
as I get deeper into the corn, I'll
Mm-hmm.
pour more butter in there.
Smart, smart, smart. Excuse me. uh, I used to work at a couple of movie theaters in my time, and I gotta tell you, having that much access to free popcorn is deadly. Like it's
Mhm.
very nice, but it's also like none of this is getting processed by me. Why am I doing this to myself every day?
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
All right, let's turn. Clever girl.
Mm.
So the tables have turned, my man.
uh,
What is your favorite scene of a movie theater in a movie?
ooh.
Let's get meta.
Favorite scene of a movie theater in a movie. Um, the first one that comes to mind is Taxi Driver, but I don't think that's my favorite. The second one that comes to mind is unfortunately from Mad Men, which is not a movie. It is in fact a television show. But when he takes his kid to the movies that one time, the one time, much like the thing you described, a father-son outing, it's first time. But if for Don, it's like the one time he pays attention to his kid. I can't speak to you and your father's relationship. But I want to say there's that movie, that Scorsese film, Hugo.
Yes.
All of the scenes with the movies in that I loved. For a while, this is gonna maybe drive some people nuts. That was the only Scorsese film I'd ever seen.
Dude, what is going on with you?
I
This is
saw
insane.
Hugo and I saw Shutter Island.
Yeah, you watch like C Team
Yeah,
deep cuts.
for sure. Those were my first two, and I do not know how that happened. It
You're
took
like,
me.
I've only heard the Rolling Stones, the 1994 Rolling Stones album.
That is correct. What about you? What about your favorite cinema
Uh,
scene?
well, a few of them were flashing before my mind's eye. Recently, The Blob. So
Mm.
the I
Mm-hmm.
think it's like late 1980s remake of The Blob, and the thing gets into the movie theater, and it's on the wall, on the ceiling, and it drops down, and it starts just straight up snacking on children in the middle of this movie, and it is a reason for this film to be rated R. But I also, being as a child, I loved watching kids get killed in horror movies.
Okay, interesting. Go
And
on.
not well, because why I say that is not that I enjoy it, showed that there were real stakes.
Sure. Yeah.
Whereas in
Yeah.
a lot of like Spielbergian cinema outside of Jaws. So in fact, one reason I think Jaws is such a good film is that there's like a little boy who gets eaten in it. Whereas
Yeah.
in most horror films, the little kid, especially ones that are like marketed to children,
Mm-hmm.
they get away, and
Yeah.
that kind of like is like it's a safety valve from like it being a true horror film. It's a cheat. It's a cop out.
Yeah, for sure. Like as scary as Jurassic Park is, that specifically the first time you see it, those kids are going to be fine by the end of the movie.
Yeah, that's whack, son. Like they're the ones that should be eaten first by the dinosaurs.
Because it makes the most sense. Well, I mean, it's fun
Yeah,
that the lawyer goes first because, fuck lawyers, I guess. But
dude,
for sure.
wolves when they're chasing a pack of buffalo, they eat the babies and they eat the old ones first, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah,
And so why wouldn't a velociraptor be the same?
I agree. I agree. I'm with you. I would.
Lamb and mutton.
Lamb and mutton. Lamb and mutton. Are you ready for our word to improvise a film off of?
Yeah.
Very bleak what you just suggested, but I do agree, like by laws of nature. In that first Jurassic World film, like that one lady gets drowned by that pterodactyl or whatever. Imagine if that
Yeah.
was a kid. Like that would have that would have been like so much better because of the thing. You're like everyone would have been like, oh, this shit's scary.
Yeah.
Like
And now everyone, nothing's off the table. It's kind of
exactly.
and this is why Alien 3 was so great. People hated Alien 3. It's my favorite one.
Mm.
And it's like they start the film by like Aliens ends with Ripley and her surrogate family of Hicks and Newt and Bishop, the loving alien slash pet, and they land on the planet, and immediately within like the first 2 minutes, we're like, oh, Newt is dead.
Oh,
the
boy.
person that you spent the entire last movie trying to save, and you sacrificed all these space aliens to like, you know, have this relationship with Newt. Hicks, your romantic interest, also dead.
Oh
So
my God.
husband and child gone, and Bishop is just out of the picture.
Ugh.
And we're gonna shave your head.
And we're gonna shave your head. That's how you know.
And your eye is gonna have like a burst blood vessels in her eye, so
Ugh.
she looks totally unappealing the whole film. And I was like, yeah, this is exactly what you know, a crash landing on a planet would be like. It wouldn't
For
be,
sure. It wouldn't be
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. Now I want to play a little game with you right now, Gabe. Based off
Yeah.
of what you know of what I said about Scorsese and the Predator films, what alien movies do you think I've seen?
Dude, you have only seen Prometheus and Covenant.
You're almost correct. I've seen that first Alien film. I've seen the first Alien movie, and I've seen those two. And can I tell you, I think Prometheus was the first one I saw.
Bonkers.
Yep.
But and again, I never want to be like, get off my lawn, you know.
Sure,
and
sure.
We fish with, you know, your consciousness is kind of like is a fishing metaphor. It's like the moment that you dip your hook into
David
the
Lynch.
stream.
David Lynch, yeah, I've taken his masterclass. Thank you.
Yeah, and so you're capturing. I can't judge you for like where you start.
Mm-hmm.
All I can say is that your entry point is bonkers, but it's as crazy as my entry point being The Last Emperor.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
that's very good.
So I can't. I all I can say is like, I really hope that you find the time to go back and watch the other Alien films.
I've been meaning to. I'm gonna get them probably from my local library and sit down and watch all three of them in a row.
And it's something else funny is that for you it will be homework, but for like growing up in middle school, I had this kid who showed up in 7th grade. It was his first year, and he was an all boys middle school, and he was a brilliant comic book artist. And what he did to ingratiate himself with a lot of the students in the class was that he recreated basically the story of Aliens, the second film,
Sure,
in comic book form. But then he gave us the like the kids in the class, like he made us the characters.
That's so good.
So, you know,
what a cool thing to do.
Yeah, and I remember sleepovers. I probably went to like 4 or 5 sleepovers, and we would just watch Aliens over and over and over again.
That's dope. And go back to another point that I made earlier. For me, Phantom Menace. That was our entry point. So now I'll talk to, like, I used to work at a school, and so some kids were like, "Oh, I love Star Wars. I love Kylo Ren," and I'm like, "That is your entry point. That is fascinating to me." So this just keeps happening, Gabe.
Yeah, yeah, and it
keeps happening
every time. And you think, you know, and I remember your generation with what is it, Phantom Menace?
Mm-hmm.
The Anakin as like an archetype for like boys, masculinity, like boys becoming men. If you think of him as a metaphor for that, it's again like, what are we doing? Anakin Anakin, this dude just went in and murdered. He's like the school shooter. He is a school shooter, like incel.
Yeah, like, okay, so I can't get too into this because otherwise this is going to be the rest of the podcast, but Anakin is a favorite of mine because much like some people grew up with Harry Potter, I grew up around the same. He was my age pretty consistently.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. He makes some bad choices. Famously so. Some not good things happens to my man. And you know what? I think the incel thing is actually pretty apt in as much as there is a like an authority figure lying to these young men saying your only worth to society is through this one thing. But I will say this though, he's not quite an incel because Anakin canonically does fuck at least once.
He smashes.
He
Yeah.
smashes, and here's the thing. I think both of they cast two of the hottest people in that fucking movie to play Anakin and Padme at the time. They
Yeah.
probably fuck a lot. They smash a lot, I think. I think it's
Yeah.
a wonder that they didn't get pregnant sooner.
Yeah. He is it's interesting. I don't want to I'm not bashing the actor. But I just wonder, like, George Lucas, he captured something with that moment, and like what makes a guy bad. Like Anakin is bad, as obviously we know because he turns into Darth Vader.
Yeah.
But how does he what even before he's Darth Vader, when he's just like he's like a weird milady
Yeah, he's kind of a neckbeard.
like
yeah.
Reddit boy, you
Yeah,
know?
a little bit. Yeah, for sure. He's like uncomfortable, and like that's the thing. Whenever anyone's like, "Oh, it's so those scenes are so cringeworthy with him and Padme," I'm like, "Yeah, because this guy doesn't know how to talk to anyone.
Totally.
Because he's in a cult. Like this is what."
Yeah, he's in the worst cult, dude. I watched that movie again and I was like, fuck these Jedi. They are space cops.
Yeah,
And they're like centrist space cops
for
who are
sure.
like not willing to go to the extremes to actually affect change.
Mhm,
But they're just like, well, we're just, we're here and I guess the Senate's gonna handle this and we're, come on, man.
Yeah, they're they're kind of losers. I mean, like, I love the ideals that they stand for of like, oh yes, hope is good, connecting with this, energy field, blah 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 blah. Everyone coming
Yeah.
together. But like, yeah, they're we get a snapshot at them at their worst. At their worst.
So one thing I truly believe is that Darth Maul was right.
Darth Maul was right.
Darth Maul was right. And
in what way?
Okay, so when there's the battle between him and Qui Jin with Liam Neeson,
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yo, when Qui-Gon Jinn and your boy Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan, they're both fighting him, and they're in that hallway, and then the power force field comes down.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. That was so when I talk about art. The reason this movie is art to me is that I never ever forget the scene of Darth Maul waiting behind that force field and pacing, waiting for the shield to come up so that he can just murk these fools. And Quay John, he's just seated lotus style.
Yep.
Just breathing or whatever, like trying to get present. And I'm like, man, I hope you were just reflecting on the life that you will shortly be exiting, because
my god,
this dude is about to lift your soul out of your body. And he did.
And he does. Yeah, he absolutely did. And can I tell you, as a young person, seeing that guy pace back and forth, it's so scary.
Oh wow.
I was like, like 10 or whatever, and I was like, ah, because he's got those very intense eyes.
It was a life lesson for me to always be ready and to not relax.
Yeah,
like you have to
always be anxious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Momentum begets more momentum.
You know what?
The minute that
is
you
true.
sit and you rest, you're over.
Moss
grows on you.
Even when like Obi-Wan's like standing there, he's like doing like a video game like resting idle stance. He like does little hops, and I'm like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's why he kills Darth Maul later.
Yeah,
he stayed with it.
Yeah, he's amped. He's ready to go. He's chugged his Red Bull. He's ready to take on the world. All right. A word is obscure. Yeah, obscure. A very good word, I think. So, I have a couple places where my mind goes, but I want to defer to you as well because you are the guest.
Obscure, man. I'm thinking conspiracies.
Okay, cool.
I'm thinking shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking multiple perspectives.
Okay. So, some sort of political thriller, you think?
I think it has to be a
Okay.
political thriller.
Okay.
I'm thinking, are there cover-ups?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have unreliable narrators?
I think so. So it's a political thriller.
It could
Is it,
also be a film noir.
why not both?
I think there's a synergy there.
I think so too. And I think the main synergy is blinds.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of blinds, a lot of peering through things, a lot of pauses and going, So this political thriller slash noir. So it's I assume someone has been sent to investigate some sort of corruption in a government, right? And we're
Ooh.
following that agent, and he's the noir style protagonist, the detective. But my main question for you is, are we going to base it off any real political thing, or are we just going to like make up some politics, or are we going to be like, this is about Afghanistan? you know
Wow. I want Afghanistan to be the backdrop or the backstory
mm-hmm.
for something that's being covered up. I
Okay.
don't think that we have to go to an exotic setting like that.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way that in Star Wars, the first one, Obi-Wan is like, remember the Clone Wars?
Yep.
And we're all like, yeah, the Clone Wars. It's like Afghanistan is the Clone Wars in this.
Gotcha. I like
Ooh.
that. I like that idea of it being like, do we want it to be like a weird sort of period piece of like a post 9/11 America?
This also sounds amazing. I love
Okay.
um, period pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And I also like it when the period piece is set hyper specific, like in The Big Lebowski, how the film is supposed to take place in the, I think, late 80s, right around the Gulf War.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this could be like, it's set in like 2007.
Okay, 2007. What's going on in 2007 politically that we can latch on to?
Well, in 2007, you have, I think it is still the endish period of George Bush's presidency.
Yes, that's correct.
We are in Afghanistan, and it is seen as a quagmire. We're
Mm-hmm.
also in Iraq, and there have been a couple surges, and we're wondering. We also kind of know that it was fake at the time because we haven't found the weapons of mass destruction. So there's like a cynicism, I think, where we're like, what is real?
Yeah,
Which goes with this obscurity theme that we've got.
I think so too.
Can we trust these? Also, the politicians all seem like businessmen
Mm-hmm.
that were faking the funk, like a Rumsfeld.
Yeah.
It's coming out that like he didn't fucking know what he was talking about, or Cheney, who's like an oil man, doesn't know what he's talking about. Enron has collapsed, and we're about to have the housing market collapse in 2008.
rough couple of years there, eh?
So things are shaky. The
Things are shaky.
center is not holding.
Mm-mm. So I like that as a backdrop. What should the person be investigating? That's the thing. Do we want like an investigative journalist, that sort of situation, or is that too kind of hackneyed about this time period at this point?
I kind of like it when it's a little bit of a fish out of water.
Mm.
And when we think of a journalist or even a private detective, those guys are known like quantities. What if it was like an insurance investigator? Somebody who's a little bit out of his league, so that when things start happening, it's like, what the fuck? The stakes.
Oh, I like that a lot. I like someone I love a movie where things go wrong. I recently saw A Simple Plan, and my God, what a good movie. That's a movie that I think about, like, you were talking about, like, the backstories I've made up for those guys, because, like, I'm from Minnesota. I'm like, I know exactly what they were like.
Yeah.
But I like this idea. What do you think about this? Is this too bleak? That a guy who's an insurance salesman or like investigator, like who settles claims, right?
That's right. Exactly. He's got to
And
figure out like what, because they're cover-ups to try to like, there's something about money.
what about this? He's trying to someone put out a very large insurance policy on a number of buildings near the Twin Towers. Not themselves, and so that's suspicious. What do you think? Is that too conspiracy theory land? Are we drifting into like being like, does jet fuel melt steel beams, that sort of situation, or is that okay with you?
It is 100% okay with me
Okay.
because I just watched a documentary on 9/11,
Mm.
and in it, you had competing agencies. So like the FBI,
Mm-hmm.
when there's a claim of like a terror happening, some sort of like cabal or network, the FBI doesn't really care about the whole web of connections. Their job is to take the dangerous people off the street pretty
Mm.
quickly. Then the CIA, they operate in a little bit more of a gray area where they're thinking, oh, you're, Tristan has been radicalized and he's been going to these meetings. Let's capture him and try to flip him and make him an asset to find more
Mm.
people.
Mm-hmm.
So the CIA was like kind of new about not this is the like they knew more about what could happen,
Sure.
and they were not sharing what they knew with the FBI because they didn't want to prematurely um, get all these guys picked up.
I see.
So now all you need is like one bad apple
Mm-hmm.
to not even a bad apple, but somebody who's thinking, oh, there's definitely going to be like a terror event that occurs near the Twin Towers, because I believe some CIA agents
Mm-hmm.
thought it was inevitable that the Twin Towers would be blown up. They just
Mm-hmm.
didn't know when it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them interviewed in this documentary was like, yeah, man, look, if it wasn't then, it would be a bit later. So like,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. We missed, and the goal went through the posts,
Mm-hmm.
literally hit both posts. But if it wasn't now, it would have it would have happened.
Yeah.
And I think about things like Nancy Pelosi. All right, hey everybody, are you ready for my conspiracy theories? No,
Go for it.
this is not conspiracy, but like Nancy Pelosi, there's a guy on TikTok who's like made
Mm-hmm.
an app that tracks her investments. And if you literally just invest the way that she does, you'll make a ton of money. And it's based on but she's also in government. So she knows ahead of time exactly what businesses are going to be affected by be it healthcare policies that
Mm-hmm.
we enact. Um, she knew ahead of time that there would be a shutdown, with COVID. So it's like even knowing a couple weeks ahead of time before everyone else, if you start putting money in the right things, you're gonna capitalize off of it. So she went to Taiwan recently. This is all, dude. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
give
I was like, isn't this also what we put away Martha Stewart for?
exactly insider trading. And when they bring it up to her, she's like, I'm a capitalist. What are you telling, like, are you telling politicians that they can't also invest in the market?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Yeah, you goon. um but she went to Taiwan, and she has all this money invested in microchip companies.
Mm.
And now the US is like banning sales of certain microchips to mainland China. And they're going to be, and so it's, she's not manipulating the market, but she's capitalizing off of the governmental policies that will lead to economic changes. So all you need is one spook in the CIA or somebody
Mm-hmm.
attached to that who's like, hey man, the thing to do is like put insurance in these places because we have a tip
Mm-hmm.
maybe that some controlled demolition might occur.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. So it's the CIA. I think that's great. Someone in the CIA.
Someone we don't know how high up it goes.
Yeah, we don't, not yet. Um, So I think our investigator, I love the idea that it's an insurance claim adjuster. Like there's something weird going on because there are all these things. Like I love that so much. You really did heighten the stakes so
Hmm.
well.
And maybe we don't know that
Mm-hmm.
he has some background, that he was in Afghanistan, or he was
Mm.
he has some, maybe he has some combat experience.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I almost like it him being like not a like war on terror vet, but like a Desert Storm. So he's
Yeah.
like, I've been doing this for a little bit. Like I got home from my tour of duty. I became an insurance claims adjuster with the free education I received. Oh, this is what I'm doing with my life. And now I have to kind of turn on my own.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that a lot. I do
And yeah, go on.
I do feel like we could make her a lady, and I think that would be also interesting because then there's that aspect of like, well, number one, she's not getting taken seriously at the insurance place, but also she can use that to her advantage during the investigation. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. She's constantly being, what would be a word? Underestimated,
Yeah, yeah.
especially when she's talking to people who are in the military apparatus.
Hmm. Kind of like a Jodie Foster in Science of the Lambs situation.
I've
Hmm.
been watching a lot of Homeland, so
Yeah,
I've been thinking about Claire Danes a lot, and her. She's such a great actress.
she is. She really grew on me. I'd only seen her in a couple of things, but one of them being Stardust, which is not necessarily a good film, but Robert De Niro is there as a gay space pirate, and it's fantastic.
All right, so he's not playing against type at all.
No, not at all. He's like, yeah, that's just him. That's just Bobby. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Well, I
Okay.
brought up Claire because Claire
Hmm.
is maybe like an updated version of the Jodie Foster in Silence of the
Yes.
Lambs, because she's playing a CIA operative in Homeland.
Hmm.
So this idea of kind of like I can see a strong woman who is underestimated as our protagonist.
Hmm. I think so too. I think that's also, I think that that makes the whole dynamic more interesting as opposed to just like some guy, you
Yeah.
know. So does she find out who does it by the end of the film? Or does she get taken out?
Ooh, all great. I think I don't know. I like in True Detective
Mm-hmm.
how they kind of uncover one of the main culprits, but then you realize that it goes deeper, or there's some
Mm-hmm.
ambiguity as to what did we find. Was that we followed the money, but did we
Mm-hmm.
finally make it to where the money ended up?
I see. Hmm.
Was it
Yeah.
was it a lone CIA guy, or was it one of his relatives, or
Or
was it
was
a
it
cabal of
the
CIA
CIA?
guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. As like a fun little bit, I think it'd be fun to have Seth MacFarlane play one of the CIA agents and can name him Stan Smith, a la American Dad. I think that'd be very fun, personally.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's happening.
Yeah, that's for sure happening. I think that'd be good. I think her finding out almost. It's kind of like again the Science of the Lambs thing of like you get that ending where he's like, "Well, I've escaped though," is the thing.
Have you heard the term unlimited hangout?
No,
Or
what is
I'm
this?
sorry, a limited hangout.
No, what is this?
So a limited hangout is when the government reveals that something bad happened,
Mm-hmm.
but so everyone, and then they go, well, we fixed it. And so it's a hangout. It like we've let out that something bad happened,
Mm-hmm.
but we've limited how much of the lie we've shown. So when you watch what is it, like Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
the newer ones, Emperor Senator Palpatine lets Count Dooku be the head of the Sith for a minute,
Yeah.
and then once they kill him, they're like, see, okay, well, finally we've captured the rogue element in the
Yeah.
Jedi, who are
Mm.
actually the secret Sith.
Yeah.
So for like, if the CIA was actually 100% responsible for this insurance fraud, but at the end of it, we capture one or two rogue bad apples,
Mm-hmm.
then like at the end, it's like excellent. Um,
Yeah,
aha.
I like
I think
that a lot. I think that's very good. I like the aha. Do you think we should have her framed at the end?
yeah, absolutely. She's gotta go on the run.
She's got to go on the run, and she's just like, "Oh no, now I'm an enemy of the state. I
Yeah.
gotta go somewhere else."
Which to me ties into like Julian Assange today as
Mm.
an enemy of the state, or like Steve Donziger is another guy like that who was a lawyer, or I'm sorry, a journalist who uncovered all of this like Chevron's pollution in the Amazon,
Hmm.
and he won the case. They won the case based on his help, but then the U.S. government put him under house arrest for over a year. So,
Cool. What a cool thing to do.
so like a lot of these whistleblowers end up nothing good comes from doing the right thing. So she
Is that the
wins.
second lesson you learned from Darth Maul?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
hope this isn't like the bleakest, most black pilled episode of the show you have.
So far.
Yeah. Because
No.
I've been smiling the whole time. I'm having a great time.
I am too. It's fun to make up a little story that's completely fabricated and not at all real. I cannot stress that enough. No, I like it. I like her going on the run. Do you have any actresses in mind besides Claire Danes? Do you think she should play our leading lady?
Oh, who else do I like? I mean, I really like the our friend from Mad Men who played the secretary in Mad
Oh,
Men for a long
Elizabeth,
time.
not Elizabeth. She plays Peggy Olsen or Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah, we could have Elizabeth
I
Moss.
would love that. I think she's perfect for it. She plays
Hmm.
Meek very well. There
Yeah,
we go.
understated, underestimated,
Mm-hmm.
and yet she in the Invisible Man, I think, which I brought up earlier,
Mm-hmm.
she is great at fighting back when
Mm-hmm.
cornered.
Yes, she's got a ferocity to her,
Yes. Yeah.
and I like that a lot too. Um, I feel like should Seth MacFarlane be the main CIA agent that she deals with, or should we have another person in there?
I think he we think that he is the heavy
Mm-hmm.
until about like three quarters of the way through,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're introduced to his the real heavy who ends up whacking him.
I like that. I like that a lot. Who should play the real heavy, do you think?
The real heavy should
Mm-hmm.
be played by our friend
Our friend,
who played Deadpool,
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. And
That is.
this is dark Ryan Reynolds too.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a bit bleak for Ryan. He's normally like, I like to have
Yeah.
fun. I
Yeah.
do like that as well. Also, I think it's fun for him to be in this because he's Canadian, and so he has no real,
He doesn't have any skin in the game.
exactly, no real stake. It's fine. I like it a lot. Is it called Obscure, or do we want to do another title? Is it called Obscurity?
Yeah. Ooh, obscurity. I like maybe something with blinds
Mm.
and something. And is there something we can say about uh like recouping, about losses,
Hmm.
real estate, dirt?
What about diminishing returns? Just diminishing returns because it's not worth it for this lady.
Yes. Yeah.
Ugh.
Dim turns.
Dim turns.
Yeah. Because everything is obscured. And we're in a maze.
Ugh. I like it. I like it, Gabe. I think it's gonna get greenlit. I think we have a real winner here. Do you want to do a quick lightning round?
Tristan, I'd like nothing more than that.
Fantastic. So the first word is switch.
Oh, switch. Great.
Switch.
Face off.
Yeah, so it's just face off again. That's your pitch, is like, again, face off. Face off two face two off.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think,
what? I gotta make a new movie?
yeah, a new movie. Yeah, a
Yeah,
little, like
yeah,
a
yeah.
little baby movie. I can go first if you want to give an
Sure,
example.
please.
Switch is, I think, um, kind of like what you're saying, face off. But it's a body swapping comedy, a la, Freaky Friday. But it's about, no, that's too much. Can't be doing that. You know what? I'll just say what I have in my mind. It's about Jim Crow era, the South, and a white guy gets switched with a black guy, and but I guess it's not a comedy really, because spinning that as a comedy would be a bit much,
Yeah.
or not up to me to do, is what I will say.
Sure, sure. Although it is an interesting idea, and I think it's a good one. Mark Twain did something like that back in the day with a book called Pudd'nhead Wilson, about
Okay.
two little babies that are switched at birth, and the one is very light because they're both light. Uh,
Mm,
then there's this. It's like almost twins being ra- having radically different experiences but being the same
interesting. I
human.
will.
So it's kind of about that, like, what is racism, what is segregation, why do we treat people different based on, you know not
Mhm.
even the color of their skin, but like their arbitrariness of caste.
Yeah. Huh. That sounds like a book I need to read now. Thank you for that.
Oh yeah. Oh god. Well, so Switch,
Mm-hmm.
man. Switch. I mean, I'm always a big fan of like a gender bending
Mm-hmm.
switch uh scenario, and I think it would be Ghost. Oh god. It can't be Ghost. It has to be two living people, doesn't it?
I
Or
mean,
mm,
or does it? That's all I have to say.
ah,
Just let your mind go wherever, man.
yeah. No, I wanted to have like a Civil War Union general coming back and living in the body of his great 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 grandson or something,
That's perfect. That's
and
very cool.
just being annoyed by modernity.
See, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. All right. So the next one is Pursuit. Pursuit. I think this one is it's a rom-com about a tailor and a cobbler that get together, and it's per suit, like a suit.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
I really love that. Mine is going to be the story of the high stakes world of bar trivia nights in New York City,
You are talking to a trivia host, so I know all about this.
and like how it could lead to Jeopardy or having your own know-it-all show on TV.
A know-it-all show on TV. I think that's very good. And so, ah, I like that a lot.
Yeah,
And
and
so you have to make compromises along the way. Where are you
there's
willing?
politics involved. It's like not only do you need to know stuff, which would be the purity of trivia, but also cutting your friends out, finding ways to rig the system in the
Mhm.
games,
Can I give
performance
you a
enhancing
slug?
drugs. Yeah.
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Stop it.
There
Yeah,
it
that's great.
is.
Uh-huh.
I like that a lot. Ugh. All right. So, I would say Inflate is the next one. So, I feel as though Inflate to me is about a small mom and pop uh water park in like Iowa. And all of a sudden it's 2009, and all of a sudden inflation is on the rise, and now all the sort of products that they need to keep their family business afloat are costing far more than they thought, and they are struggling with that.
Excellent.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
So Inflate, we have a Mexican cartel affiliate who is trying to leave the game, and he moves to Iowa with his family, and they start a bouncy castle rental enterprise.
Okay. Does it happen to be in the same universe as my film that I just made as well?
Yeah.
Are they characters in each other's films?
Yeah, they bump into each other at like Starbucks or like Pete's Coffee.
I gotta tell you, Gabe. There's no Pete's Coffee in Iowa in 2009. I'm just letting you know that there's barely a Starbucks. But yeah, actually really like that idea also of like a shared universe, and then but I think so. Your movie, right, happens,
Yeah.
and then my movie happens as well, and then there's a third movie with both of them with the solution to their sort of monetary woes. What should that third one be, and what is the solution, do you think?
So we've got to deal with inflation,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that there is absolutely some card sharping happening in this third one.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe it's like something about underground casinos.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe in the basements of a mega church.
I think that's very good. That is very good. The illegal gambling happening in the basements of a mega church in Iowa.
Yeah, because they're and the children are really the ones that like spearhead this because they've really gotten into online poker and they think that's the way out.
Ugh, that's all very good. I want to say thank you very much for doing this podcast. It's been an absolute delight talking about movies and making movies with you. What do you want people who listen to this podcast to know about you?
Tristan Miller, my name is Gabe Pacheco, and if people enjoy my rants and whimsy and insights, they can go to the Halal Cartels podcast. That
Great
is
name.
Halal Cartels, and we are on Spotify and Apple Pod and Anchor. So, and I do that with my co-host Samir Nassim. It's our podcast together. And I also do live comedy in New York City every Wednesday at 10 p.m. at Pete's Candy Store in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And if you come to Pete's earlier, they have a trivia night. and then right after trivia, stand-up starts at 10 p.m. every Wednesday. That's me.
That's you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Tristan. This was an absolute blast. My man. Let's watch a movie sometime.